We have had a mice problem, but they are so much bigger that we will have more than last year. And this is how we know that there's mice. She's always trying to find the mice, but they live amongst the rocks. This is pretty nice size. We are cleaning these, so we cut off the rotting leaves and make a nice clean surface. So this is the beetroot yield from the lot, and we also got a little bit of potatoes and one parsnip. Here we have the potatoes all the way this area. This we already ate in the summer. I know the yield is not gonna be good. It was really dry summer and we didn't water the potatoes because it's a lot of work. But there will be something. They will be small, mostly. There's like 4 different varieties. I will be using this pitchfork with round tips so the potatoes don't get hurt in the process. And here we have the potatoes. As you see, I weed the area as we go. It's a little bit slower, but if we leave the weeds, the leaves will die off and the roots will sprout in the spring. It's easier now. It makes the harvest slower, but it's easier now when they are fully grown, so they're easy to pull out. Next year we will plant something else here, maybe carrots. This is honestly so bad. I've been digging such a big area to get these little potatoes. But at least the dog's having fun. Tuleeko perunoita? Okay, we dug up the potatoes. The yield was very bad. There's several reasons why. Some of them were because of the nature and some of them were because of us. And I'm going to explain what went wrong. First, Johanna was pregnant and I was too focused on the sauna build. So we didn't water the potatoes enough. We had a severe drought on the early summer that lasted until the potatoes were already almost fully grown. So the potatoes were really small. Second, I think we put too much nitrogen-rich horse manure. That helps the potatoes to grow the leaves, but the actual potatoes stay small. Third, we have these tree roots coming to the potato field. So in the spring when we planted the potatoes, we didn't dig deep enough to get rid of the roots that have penetrated the line and grown to the potato field. And fourth, we planted them in too small piles again. So all those 4 reasons or 5 reasons, how many there were, they led to very bad yield. I think it was the worst of the worst. I think it was the worst yield so far. From this area we could have gotten 3 times more potatoes if all those things were done correctly. Here we have some turnips. Also the turnips. The turnips grew there. Were not that successful. We heard that the tradition was to plant them in Jaakko's day, which is like 12th of July, I think, which is quite late. And that might not be the best time to plant them. They never really got to a good growing, and most of them were really small. So we will plant them earlier regardless of the old information. Also, we didn't put hay as a mulch to those turnips. That was one reason. And then we didn't thin them enough. I think the main reason was that they were planted too late. So when the best growing time was over, they were basically catching up to the phase where they grow the most. The whole planting should go that the plants are in the best growing phase when we have the warm and sunny period of the year, which is only for 1 or 2 months. But the years change a lot, and we can change the sunlight, or we can a little bit by felling trees from there, but that's something we don't want to do at the moment. We'd like to keep the forest around us as much as possible. The sun does come pretty nicely from there. But yeah, we can't change the rain or we can change the sunlight, but we can water and do the other things better. So the lesson we learned here was that growing food should be my topmost priority, not some building project, because without food we can't stay here, but with an incomplete building we still can stay here. Anyways, luckily we are not completely dependent on our own food. We're still learning. This was my 5th year of gardening, so next year we'll do better and learn from these mistakes. The carrots are still there. There's something severely wrong with the seed or something, but they didn't sprout that well, and we kind of lost hope at some point, and now it's completely taken over by weeds. There's a little bit of carrots in there, but not too many. Some of them look okay, but last year we used to have like full rows of nice big carrots, and this year there's barely any carrots. So we gave up on this because the seed didn't sprout, and we did a replantation and they still didn't sprout. So we planted twice and couldn't get the sprout. The years before we managed to get the carrot sprout nicely and full rows, but this year something was off, and I'm not sure what it is. It might be that there's something wrong with this part of the crop field. I can see sometimes like a green moss growing on the soil, so that might be one of the reasons. Maybe it's too acidic or something. But yeah, we couldn't get the carrots to sprout and we lost most of them. There's a little bit, but just tiny little bit compared to last year. So this year was really valuable lesson because we failed in so many areas. We failed the carrots, we failed the potatoes, we failed the turnips. We also failed the zucchinis. They are growing really bad, small like this. And the plant is still very small. When some years they just produce too much from a couple plants. I think that's due to the cold early summer as well. The same happened to the cucumbers. They never really got to the growing speed or production. And then we also lost our onions to the drought, and we were forced to leave for 1 week in the summer. This is the cucumbers. They really never started to grow. Look at this, how bad it is. Just ridiculous. When some years they just grow all the way here and they produce so much that we can't eat them all. We also lost the onions. We were away for a week because of a funeral, and we asked our neighbor to water the onion bed or the whole garden 3 times during that week, but it was the hottest week of the year, and the onions dried and rot away. We still have few here, but nothing serious. But we also had a little bit of success. I think the parsnip are growing nicely. I think they will be big. At least the ones that we've already pulled were big. And the garlic was a success. The peas were a success. They grow really big. And the cabbage and kale and such plants were a success. Even though we lost half of the cabbage to the birds. They look like this now. But in overall, it was okay, because we were expecting a baby and we had a huge construction project going on, so we didn't success because of that mostly. I was too focused on the building, so it's my fault basically. But this will still give us somewhat large amount of food, but definitely not enough for the whole year.